thing I find very strange. The only hard surfaces we see is these thin lines, which are the corridors and angular structures we have on the object.
Beneath 300 feet of icy Baltic water rests a massive circular structure no one expected to find. The object spans nearly 60 meters, with sharp angles and strange features unlike any known natural formation. Even more unsettling, divers reported unusual signals and failing equipment whenever they got close. A mysterious trail stretches almost 1,000 feet behind it across the seafloor. Explorer Dennis Asberg first uncovered the anomaly over a decade ago, but stayed quiet for years. Why does this object seem to resist discovery, and what is really hidden beneath the Baltic Sea? The Baltic anomaly revealed. On June 19, 2011, Dennis Asberg and his team encountered something utterly unexpected beneath the Baltic Sea. Their mission had started like any other, hunting for lost shipwreck cargo and centuries-old champagne bottles. But what appeared on the sonar screen transformed the familiar underwater landscape into an enigma. There, 300 feet below, a massive 60-meter disk lay on the seabed, unusual in shape and scale, resting at the end of a nearly 1,000-foot-long trail. This was no ordinary underwater rock or wreckage. Its perfect circular form immediately grabbed attention. The object's architecture was shockingly precise, featuring sharp 90-degree angles and straight lines, a direct contrast to the organic, softened shapes the team was used to seeing under the waves. The sonar revealed a series of tiered steps leading up into the structure, resembling a staircase carved into the body of the formation. Natural geology rarely creates such symmetrical, angular designs. The object stood perched on a pillar-like base, lifting it about 25 feet off the seabed, giving it a mushroom-like silhouette that seemed deliberate, even engineered. The trail behind the disk looked like a flattened runway or skid mark, almost 1,000 feet long, carved into the ocean floor, as if this enormous mass had been dragged before coming to rest. No natural force known in this tectonically quiet region could explain such a perfect, elongated groove. Currents and tides don't leave clean, straight scars like that. This anomaly disrupted everything Dennis thought he knew about underwater discoveries. Divers who later approached the site faced harsh conditions, near freezing temperatures, murky water, and almost zero sunlight at that depth. Visibility was limited to a mere 10 feet, with the structure itself slipping in and out of shadows. The divers reported a strange feeling of disorientation, as if the environment warped their senses. But beyond that eerie sense was the undeniable physical presence of the object's surface, scorched, smooth, and textured like cast concrete rather than porous stone. The repeated sonar measurements confirmed that the object maintained its identical form and showed symmetrical features that were deemed impossible. The top surface featured raised geometric ridges and circular burn marks, which showed underwater erosion patterns that did not match typical erosion trajectories. The material displayed characteristics of basalt and cast iron, but its surface treatment revealed it was crafted through human processes instead of emerging through natural processes. The scientific community and Ocean X team experienced a contradiction that swept through their entire organization. Dennis described this discovery as a complete shift in reality. His time spent at sea during his entire life enabled him to identify natural underwater formations, yet this particular instance proved to be exceptional. The structure resembled an architectural design that concealed its existence under the ocean for thousands of years. Yet, investigators failed to find the gigantic, strange object that existed in the busiest maritime routes of the world, because it had never been discovered before. The Ocean X team maintained their excitement about the discovery while they avoided making any immediate conclusions. The anomaly presented an unexplainable phenomenon that undermined all existing knowledge about Baltic geological formations and historical developments. The discovery presented a mystery that required multiple investigations to solve, because it needed ongoing study to uncover its full nature. The team received more questions about the strange disk and its skid mark, which created uncertainty about everything they found until this point. The team needed to analyze natural theories first before they could exhibit their discoveries about the anomaly, which required further examination. The skepticism surrounding its origin leads us directly into the next puzzle this object presents, whether it is a natural formation or something else entirely. Natural explanations challenged. The initial response from many experts was to categorize the Baltic anomaly as a glacial erratic, a large rock carried and deposited by melting glaciers at the end of the last ice age. Glacial erratics are common in Scandinavia, often found scattered across forests and fields. On the surface, this seemed plausible. Yet, Dennis and others quickly spotted critical details that defied this explanation. Glaciers don't carve perfect circles, create staircases with uniform steps, or leave long, linear skid marks behind massive stones. Moreover, the structural features on the anomaly's surface contain carbonized scars resembling burnt residue, similar to a spacecraft's heat shield after re-entry. Glaciers don't burn or bake rocks at extreme temperatures. This burnt coating had been fused onto the material's surface with intense heat, suggesting that some force far more powerful than natural glacial movement was involved. It was a detail that couldn't be overlooked. Others proposed volcanic activity as a cause, pointing to the basalt-like composition of some rock samples extracted from the site. However, the Baltic Sea region is tectonically peaceful, lacking any active or dormant volcanoes nearby. The nearest volcanic activity lies thousands of miles away, which makes the volcanic plug theory highly unlikely.
It's a strange stone, it's black.
Volcano throwing up lava, which consequently created the mystical anomaly.
Nature simply doesn't produce a circular pillar supporting a disc-like structure in a non-volcanic zone. The object shows another primary inconsistency through its carbon-based soot-like covering. Volcanoes produce both ash and lava, but they fail to create the consistent fused burned material which this location displays. The team discovered that the dark material had a permanent attachment because it required higher temperatures than typical geological conditions to be removed. The evidence establishes that the object experienced industrial-level heating or a massive impact event that exceeds typical natural events. Skepticism also arose around the idea that this might be a man-made remnant from wartime or Cold War technologies, such as a hidden Nazi radio jammer or a military submarine prototype. The Baltic served as a World War II and Cold War secret base, but sediment dating shows that the anomaly existed 60,000 years ago. This timing contradicts any theory of 20th century origin. The complete set of natural origin theories loses its coherence when scientists examine them in detail. A glacial erratic does not build staircases or drill neat vents. Volcanic formations lack the ability to create exact right angles, and they also produce electronic disturbances. The anomaly shows design features that human beings intentionally created instead of existing through random natural events. Scientific experts from the community sustain their skepticism because they need to find safer geological explanations that follow established methods. Dennis experiences frustration because people maintain cautious silence about creative skepticism, which leads them to disregard data that directs research toward different areas. Natural explanations become less probable in some situations. This mounting tension between accepted geology and unusual findings only deepens when the team examines the striking failures of technology near the site, suggesting something far more complex is at play. The electronic interference mystery. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Baltic anomaly is its disruptive effect on electronic equipment. The moment the Ocean X team's boat crossed within about 200 meters of the site, satellite phones ceased to function altogether. This wasn't a weak signal or searching network scenario. The phones simply died, as if deliberately switched off by an unseen force. Moving even a few hundred feet farther away restored communications instantly. This technology blackout extended beyond phones. Sophisticated sonar systems that had initially detected the object began experiencing severe interference when positioned directly over it. Cameras lowered toward the structure filled their lenses with snow and artifacts, rendering visuals useless. Even divers' wrist-mounted dive computers froze, and underwater communication devices crackled into static. It felt as if the object emitted an active field designed to jam and confuse electronic signals. Dennis recalls witnessing this systematic equipment failure as incredibly frustrating, standing on the edge of a potential breakthrough only to see his tools go dark one by one. The pattern was too consistent and coordinated to be a coincidence. Something was actively interfering, either a naturally occurring phenomenon, unlike any known magnetic disturbance, or an engineered defense mechanism still on after thousands of years. Adding to the mystery, the team detected a persistent 5 Hz pulse emanating from the area. 5 Hz signals are extremely low frequency, typically used by militaries to communicate with submarines deep underwater because these waves penetrate water and earth better than most signals. Generating such a pulse usually requires massive infrastructure, including vast antenna arrays and powerful energy sources, none of which are visible or known to exist near the Baltic site. The presence of this low-frequency pulse implies the source is either powered in some unknown way or is the remains of technology far more advanced than expected. A natural rock or glacial erratic cannot produce deliberate, controlled signals, much less jam electronics. But the mystery deepens with these unexplained electromagnetic properties. Scientists who analyzed rock samples found unusual conductive minerals and magnetic interference capable of causing some electronic disruptions. However, magnetic anomalies alone cannot explain the total breakdown of equipment or the precise boundary where devices fail and recover. Something more complex, perhaps a form of electromagnetic field or technology, is at work. This electronic silence zone casts the Baltic anomaly not just as a physical puzzle, but as a living, active presence, defying easy classification. Its interference suggests a purpose or power that extends beyond mere stone. The implications leave the team and the wider community wrestling with uncomfortable questions that point far beyond traditional underwater archaeology and geology. What lies beneath this blanket of electronic suppression may reveal truths that challenge our understanding of history and technology alike. And it is this intrigue that drives the search deeper still. The mystery of the anomaly's materials and the heat evidence they bear pushes the story forward, where physical proof collides with tantalizing questions of origin and design. Material composition and heat evidence. After collecting small samples from the Baltic anomaly, divers sent them for detailed analysis to experts, including geologists at Stockholm University. Initial reports described the rocks as basalt, a common volcanic rock, which seemed to support natural formation theories. Yet a closer look revealed something far more puzzling. Certain fragments contained unusual minerals like limonite and goethite, iron oxides, often linked with processed metals and industrial slag rather than typical seafloor geology. What made these findings even more striking were traces of manganese and other elements that require exposure to temperatures far exceeding common underwater conditions. This suggested the anomaly's material had undergone intense heating processes, beyond what volcanic or sedimentary rocks experience naturally. The divers' first-hand observations of a dark, soot-like coating matched these lab results. Attempts to wipe away this blackened layer failed. It was not ordinary silt, but burnt residue fused to the surface by extreme heat. This carbonized crust closely resembled the scorched heat shields used on spacecraft re-entering Earth's atmosphere. Such a coating points to either a high-speed impact event or an industrial process involving controlled extreme temperatures. Neither possibility fits neatly into standard geological explanations for objects resting on the Baltic seabed. It hinted at something unusually manufactured or altered. The specialists who examined the samples determined that their results should remain unpublished, yet some of them chose to separate themselves from the research initiative. Dennis Asberg observed that the official academic channels produced a dead end for every data set that received transmission through those channels because the reasons behind that pattern remained unknown. The samples became even more mysterious to people who studied them because the researchers refused to provide complete details about their contents. The combination of metallic properties and conductive minerals in the material explained some of the magnetic disturbances that scientists measured at the site. The complete electronic system breakdown and the unusual 5 Hz signal, which was produced from that location, could not be explained through these particular elements. The electromagnetic puzzle extended beyond the anomaly because its composition represented only one element of the whole system. The collected materials proved their capacity to create new inquiries about origin and purpose through their rejection of the standard explanation that explained them as either glacial erratic or volcanic rock. Why would a natural object exhibit signs of artificial heat treatment and metallic composition so far beneath the sea? The object still maintains its capacity to create effects through its current energy output and technological presence. The process of validating these strange characteristics led the research team to study archaeological materials together with material science and undisclosed advanced technologies. The Baltic Sea floor contained more extensive knowledge about the anomaly than the research team found through their investigation of the product, which had been produced through actual firing or manufacturing processes. The distinctive characteristics of the anomaly's material resonate with broader historical and archaeological mysteries preserved in the Baltic, teasing a hidden chapter of human or other presence beneath the waters. Historical and archaeological context. The Baltic Sea is often called an underwater time capsule because its cold, low salt waters preserve ancient shipwrecks and artifacts better than almost anywhere else on Earth. But among all its discoveries, the Baltic anomaly remains one of the strangest. Researchers estimate the object could be more than 14,000 years old, dating back to a time before known civilizations were capable of building massive geometric structures. At that time, much of the Baltic region was still dry land, before rising sea levels flooded the area after the last ice age. This raises a disturbing possibility. The anomaly may have originally been built on land, then submerged over thousands of years. Nearby discoveries make the mystery even deeper. Researchers have identified submerged stone formations, strange pavements, and ancient structures with no clear explanation. Explorer Dennis Asberg has also reported areas where sonar and magnetic readings behave unpredictably across the Baltic Sea.
So that was a shock for me, and that was something that changed my belief totally.
Some experts blame wartime debris for these disturbances, but the anomaly appears far older than any modern military activity. Whatever rests beneath the Baltic seabed may belong to a chapter of history we still do not understand. The Baltic region has historical military testing activities that extend beyond archaeological studies. The area served as a center for secret operations during World War II and the Cold War, when Nazis conducted rocket operations and stealth ships ran tests and submarines vanished without explanation. The skeptics propose the lost wartime technology theory, which includes both giant acoustic mirrors and circular submarine prototypes as possible explanations for the anomaly. Yet, the age of the sediments and material samples effectively rules out 20th century origins. Fishermen and sailors from the region have reported unusual events at particular Baltic locations, which include compass malfunctions and fishing net entanglements with unknown objects, and a pervasive feeling of discomfort. The stories that mainstream science tends to reject create an unsettling human aspect. that contributes to the unresolved mystery of the anomaly. The crew members from Ocean X experienced headaches, together with low-pressure sensations in their skulls and sleep disturbances because they encountered the site, which seemed to create a psychological impact. The combination of archaeological evidence and folklore traditions establishes that the Baltic anomaly connects to a much older and more extensive historical story. The research investigates the existence of lost ancient civilizations together with their intact prehistoric structures and their development of technology that exist outside documented history. The anomaly combines natural preservation with multiple hidden mysteries, which create a foundation for understanding human history and prehistoric human history. The process of understanding the larger situation enables people to discover hidden things that exist beneath the surface and understand which parts still require special equipment and bravery to examine. This complex fusion of history, science, and secrecy sets the stage for the final quest, uncovering the anomaly's interior secrets and the truths it might reveal about our past. The ongoing search and hidden truths. For more than a decade, the Baltic anomaly has remained wrapped in secrecy, setbacks, and unanswered questions. Explorer Dennis Asberg says every major attempt to properly investigate the site has faced obstacles, from funding problems to delayed permits and mysterious interference during expeditions. He believes the truth could be uncovered quickly with the right equipment, but something always seems to stand in the way. The naval ships and patrol aircraft appear at the site whenever dives start, yet they leave the area after a short time. The divers report that the equipment shows malfunctioning behavior when they reach the location of the anomaly. As people approach the dark opening which leads to the structure's inner chamber area, lights start to flicker, communication systems fail, and electronic devices cease to function. The complete exploration of this location remains unaccomplished by any team. The recent discoveries have advanced the existing mystery. The water temperatures over the object experience unpredictable drops, which lead marine creatures to entirely avoid that particular region. The local fishermen have warned about unusual compass movements and hazardous sea conditions that occur at the same coordinates since ancient times. The Baltic anomaly represents a strange object, what Dennis considers to exist on the ocean floor. The mystery presents a challenge to established historical knowledge and scientific understanding. He maintains his search for hidden Baltic Sea treasures despite all the challenges and doubts he has encountered throughout his life. The Baltic anomaly challenges everything we think we know about history and the ocean floor. What seems like an ordinary dive site hides a complex mystery of ancient structures, unexplained signals, and silent secrets. If mysteries buried beneath the sea fascinate you, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss what's uncovered next. And when this story sinks deeper into the unknown, don't drift away just yet. Dive into the next video waiting on your screen.